Best-selling author Linwood Barclay is known around the world for his thrillers, but now he's jumped tracks into the horror genre with Whistle. And he joins us now to talk about the new novel, which is just out. Okay, I'm going to fangirl here and say this is my favorite novel of yours.
Well, you know what?
One of my top favorite novels ever.
Well, we have something in common. It's my. I think it's the best book that I have ever written, and I had more fun writing this than anything else I've done in a very long time. And because it's kind of out of my lane, I mean, I've written thrillers set in a kind of a conventional, like a real world, and this is it's still a thriller, you know, and I think people the things that people like in my books, they're still going to find here. But now we have the elements of sort of horror and supernatural. Yes. And what's great is that it allows you, because it's kind of liberating. Because in all the other books, everything has to be real, has to be believable. Now it's like, I'm just going to do something crazy here, and I can get away with it. Okay. So I don't want to give anything away, so you tell our viewers what the book is about. Well, first of all, I thought, it just doesn't seem fair to me that, you know, that mechanical monkeys and dolls and so forth get to be evil in horror films and in literature. But what about toy trains? Why could you make toy trains evil? And I thought, I'm going to do a book that will do for toy trains what Chucky did for dolls. But the book's really also about a woman named Annie Blunt, who's a children's illustrator and author, and she has a kind of double tragedy in her life. One of her books has actually led to a bizarre, horrible tragedy. She's lost her husband. She and her son decide to get away from it all and rent a house out in the country, and it's there where her son finds a box full of old toy trains. And once he starts taking these out and starts setting them up, all these very bizarre things start happening. Like she starts hearing train whistles in the night when there's no railway track nearby. She finds herself starting to draw, unlike the little cute penguin she would do for her children's books, starts drawing this bizarre, horrific figure and doesn't know why. And all of this ends up being tied to something that happened more than 25 years ago. And that just at the surface is kind of what it's all about. Okay. And this is very familiar territory for you, the trains, because we're going to show some video of your train layout. Yes. This is in your basement. Yes, that's in my basement. And when you tell people you have something like in your basement, it's like you're not sure how people are going to react. Because sometimes it would be better to just say, I have this huge porn collection in the basement. People would say, well, I get that. I get that. But see, I get this because I have a good friend who has a train layout in his basement as well that grows all the time, but nothing like this. Well, this doesn't get bigger, Don. But it gets more detailed. And a lot of it was I had a lot of help on it from our son Spencer, who's done work for Little Canada and so forth. So, but yeah, this is and so when I started writing about this, there's a sort of a model railway that gets built in this novel, but it's not like any other one you've ever heard of, because it starts like, I mean, in my layout, you know, I think, well, what can I use for grass and what can I use for this and that? And this particular layout is built more with sort of human parts. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that because, yeah, I didn't want to give that away, but it was like, I'm like, I don't see any teeth in that. No, there's no teeth, there's no human hair in that layout. There's no bones in the supporting structure in the mountains, unlike in sort of what happens in this book. Mm-hmm. You seem frightened. Is that, no, but you're sort of glad there's at least these pillows between us. But I know you. I know you're not a scary character. I have to wonder, though, after I saw your publicist sent that video, and I'm like, are you writing to support your train habit? No, but you know what? The train habit, what's good about it is when you spend your whole day creating a world on a screen with your head, it's nice to go downstairs and create one with your hands. And that kind of, it kind of releases a lot of the stress. It kind of clears your head. And when you sort of stand in the middle of it and the train's kind of going around, it's kind of Zen-like. So it's more therapy. I'm sure that it's all can be deducted as a medical expense. or like it's a job expense, right? Exactly. You have to have this. Yes. I talked to my accountant. Okay, okay. I want to give a special shout out too, because you do mention A Different Drummer books. I do. I had actually forgotten that. I mean, there's a few things get dropped into in a book like this, and little shout-outs here, and there's a reference to a bookstore called Different Drummer, although not necessarily the one that's right here in Burlington, but there could be another one.
Okay, shout out to that. We've got to get to the events that you're at today because you've got a sold-out event at Burlington Public Library and an event, Wine and Words Winery event tonight in Niagara Lake. And then you are one of the authors Friday night at the Grimsby Author Series, and it starts at Grimsby Public Library at 7 o'clock. Always an honor to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
This book is awesome.
Thanks for having me.